What's up, everybody? This is Joey C from the Brutally Sober podcast. You can find me at Brutally Sober at anchor.fm, and you can find me on Twitter at Brutsob, and you can find me on Instagram at Brutsob. If you want to sit around for a few minutes and uh, become even more bored than you already are, you can check out all the crap that I post, and maybe something will affect you, maybe something won't, but it's just a bunch of crap that I have floating around in my head in the hopes of other people maybe feeling the same way. um, I haven't been to a meeting in about, I don't know, it's like 12, 13 months since my buddy COVID came around, and I'm just kind of working my own program. um, no meetings, but I have a nice routine I got. Listening to podcasts helps me out, and reading a bunch of different material from places that seem uh, like they know what they're talking about. Who knows what anyone's talking about these days? Uh, you can judge for yourself if you think I know what I'm talking about. I'm not so sure I do sometimes, but it's just my experience. So I'm going to throw it over to Bobby C. He's my main man on the West Coast. I met him on Twitter, and we're going to be talking about step 5 today.
Yes, sir. Hello, Joe. How you doing today?
Okay.
I hope your family's safe and healthy, and everybody's doing real well. And for the viewers, the listeners, we're not doctors, we're not lawyers, we're not Indian chiefs, but we're experts in our own experience in life, and we're gonna just pass some things on. I do a disclaimer that you know what I'm saying is you take what you want, and if you want to listen, listen. If you don't, just shut us down. If you have a couple questions, I posted on my Facebook page. Next week we're going to be doing the same thing, a weekly series of this. So you could ask us some questions on Facebook, and we'll talk about that next week. We're going to be on 6 and 7. Today we're on the fifth step, and I call it the fifth step confession step to your sponsor or your priest, because that's what it's really confession. And I found out to be kind of religious, because I used to go to confession when I was young. You know, I used to go in a little confessional box and talk to the priest, and it's kind of similar. I was looking it up, and sponsorship's not even mentioned in the big book, the 164 pages, not even mentioned in there. It's mentioned in the step book, and that came out 17 years later. Bill didn't actually write about sponsorship 30 years later. I wrote something about it here, but it's, yeah, 30 years later, after the big book, he talked about the sponsorship and how it's a necessity, and the sponsor's a leader, and it can make a life and death difference, between people. I don't believe that. I don't buy it. That's why we're here. We're kind of deprogramming the myths that I've discovered. Joe's going to go back to meetings, and he's going to discover a lot of other things. He's going to bring them back, and he's going to talk about them once he goes to a meeting or two. But here, we're living proof. Joe's over here at the East Coast. He's not going to meetings. He's staying sober. He's not working all this program stuff. He really doesn't have a sponsor. So do I. Don't either. I mean, I say I do, but I really don't. I don't call him. Most of the time I'd get a sponsor just because everybody else said I had to have one. And it felt like I felt guilty if I didn't have one. Oh, do you have a sponsor? Oh, yeah, I got a sponsor. Yeah. Well, you talk to yeah, we talk. Most of all, my sponsor was my friend. Anybody that ever was my sponsor was my friend. And it actually states that I think it's mentioned 74 times, friendship in the big book. It's not sponsorship. So I always made a couple friends. And I used to make friends with guys that had a little more experience than me, that I thought that were a little more professional, a little more successful in life, had children, had a marriage, and I could learn some things from this gentleman that I would call friend or a sponsor. But do you need a sponsor? I do not believe you need a sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous or in life. That's just my take on it. Back to you, Joe.
Yeah, I've read the big book from cover to cover once, and that was when I was in rehab. And since then, I've just always gone to whatever chapter I wanted to read. And I noticed that they don't refer to the sponsors at all in the big book. And then I was just reading the 12 and 12 book in step 5, and that's when they referred to uh, the sponsor. I got a sponsor right out of rehab because they said that's what you're supposed to do. So I was trying to do everything that people told me to do because I feel like I was running out of. I had I had exhausted all my options, and I didn't. I tried everything I thought would work to prevent me from drinking, and it always failed. So I'm like, all right, let me just listen to people. So I did that, and I also did that because I had been to AA before, and I knew that if I didn't have a sponsor coming out of rehab, I was going to get bombarded by old timers and annoying AA big book dumpers or whatever, and they were going to say, "Oh, so do you have a sponsor?" And I would say, "No, I don't have a sponsor." And they'd be like, and they were going to be like, "Oh, well, you're going to have a sponsor. You have to get a sponsor." And I knew I was going to eventually be guilted into getting one or get frustrated at people telling me I needed one. That's really why I why I got why I got one. But it worked out that I met a guy that second time around in AA that I had known, and he was a friend of mine that I kind of lost contact with, and he became my official sponsor. And it's just a label. He doesn't honestly. I don't think he knows any more than I do. I mean, he knows how to interpret the big book in a way that he was taught, but other than that, his experience his experiences are different than mine. His perspectives are different than mine. But that's that. I mean, that's it. He's. I think there's sponsors. You can get a sponsor that has more time, and that doesn't mean anything either. It's the experiences that are going to give you the knowledge to advise people that might be helpful. But that, I mean, you really got to find someone that is legit, like at a level that you aspire to be like. Um, you really should be trying to hang out with people that are just the way that you want to be. And that includes not drinking and just being okay with yourself, not drinking. And if you hang around with those people, you don't even necessarily have to get advice from them all the time. It just kind of, um, that certain personality can be contagious and it just rub off on you, or you can absorb it and just learn off their little nuances. Um, but also when he was officially my sponsor, I kind of felt like, okay, he was my friend, and now we were in the fellowship, and all of a sudden, now he's my sponsor. So is he still my friend, or is he this guy that is going to be telling me what to do all the time? It kind of created an what I perceive to be an unspoken hierarchy when it comes to sponsorship in the program. Have you ever thought about or perceived any kind of hierarchy in the program, Bobby? I know they say everyone is equal, um, but in my mind, that's how a sponsor feels to me. I feel like they're put on a pedestal higher than you, or the sponsee, that is.
Yeah, that was always my kind of, well, see, when I first came in, a friend came to my house. His name was Lonnie. I'm still friends with him today. He's not my sponsor. He's a not just a friend. He's a great friend. And he actually took me to my first meeting. This was, I've known this gentleman and his family and his history and his kids and everything for 37 years. So I still consider him a friend. Do we talk about when we call each other? Do we talk about Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff like? No, we don't. We just talk about life. How's your kids? What you're doing? You're fishing. What are you building today? He's always building stuff. So he's still a friend of mine today. I consider people during my time in recovery just friends that, like you said, have like-minded interest, and I get along with them and they get along with me. Did I ever have a sponsor actually where I had to feel that he was above me? Uh, they may feel that way, but I never felt that way because I didn't like hierarchy to begin with. I didn't like authority figures. Uh, and the more I grew, the more I found out that I didn't have to conform and I didn't have to have authority figures. So yes, it seems that way, but for all the people, the new people, like I wrote down, if you're being sent to from family court, if you're sent from treatment, if you're coming in because you don't know where else to go, if you have cognitive dissonance and ambivalence about what to do when you're in, you have questions, you're afraid to ask in meetings, if you're looking for other choices while you're just listening because you're questioning your life situation or your abusive habit, this is a podcast for you because the things we're going to be talking about, believe me, you don't talk, it's almost like you can't talk about this stuff or question this stuff in meetings because you'll be ostracized. It's almost, even in definitions of brainwashing, it, it has that type of a feel to it. This fourth and fifth step is like a character. It's like it's assaulting my identity. It's because over and over they talk about, you know, it's a life or death errand. To drink is to die. Life or death errands in step four. To drink is to die is in step four. Um, Chapter three, which is really step one, gates of insanity or death. You know, it's it's almost a. I was fortunate because in the beginning, I just to tell you the truth, I really never fit in, and it'll tell you in the big book and stuff. If you don't fit in, that's wrong. That's bad. Don't be a loner. Don't be alone. But it's almost like I liked gone, but I really never. I always felt different, no matter what. And I found out when I was in meeting, I was different. We're not all the same. I found out I was different, and I really did not fit in because I felt like it was almost like any other religion, you know, and I didn't fit into any other religion either. It was almost like the more I uncovered stuff and, when I found out about like Scientology and different types of religions, I kind of like, it kind of like validated my feelings instead of me feeling more isolated. It kind of validated my feelings and kind of set me free because I felt that I wasn't alone. These things that I was feeling uh, were real, and I didn't have to conform. I could be a rebel. It talks about don't be rebellious. Well, I felt that I was rebellious all along, and it was a good thing. It talked about defiant. Don't be defiant. You know, I was defiant in a sense of a lot of different things. That's how I found out who I was and what was good for me by being a little rebellious and by being a little defiant and by being a little not a little inquisitive but a lot inquisitive on the outside. But we're going to be talking about things that that maybe you probably will never hear a 12-step meeting anywhere, 12-step meetings. Okay. And, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous, if you go way back to the concept of the disease concept, that's why Al-Anon was created, Alateen was created. There's people that are in Alcoholics Anonymous. They came in from because their parents were in Al-Anon or AA. They went to Alateen. They've been in for 30 years, 40 years, because they're always talking about a lifetime program and a lifetime of recruiting. The more I got involved and the more I checked things out, I didn't buy that. I didn't want to be that, and I was glad. So I was always a little rebellious in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I never parroted or talked the same type of language, and I'm grateful for that, really. So if anybody's coming in fresh, you don't have to, as soon as you raise your hand and say I am an alcoholic over and over 20,000 times, that's taking your identity away. That's giving you another identity, and that's part of this cult mentality. If you go down and you find out all the mechanisms and the coercive persuasion in different cults, that's the process of breaking down your identity and conforming to the society's identity. So it's taking myself away and giving it over to the group mentality. So I hope these podcasts are going to help somebody in that sense. But I'm sorry I talked a little too long, Joe, on that. But back to you, buddy.
Well, it doesn't surprise me when you tell us that you've always been a little bit rebellious and that you don't like authority figures, because you look like 20 years ago you were on stage with a bass guitar in your hand, slamming it on stage and beating the crap out of audience members. That's just the feeling I get when I look at you. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. But anyway, I remember the last meeting that I went to, my first attempt at AA, was just somebody said a joke at the podium or whatever you call it, and everyone was laughing, like a solid minute of laughter. And I just remember sitting there and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with these people? What am I not getting? Why am I not a part of this? Everyone is like together in this sense of humor, and that was like the last meeting that I went to. I just never felt a part of it. But now when I go, I guess I still don't feel a part of it, but I have the confidence in me that that's okay. I don't care if I don't feel a part of it or not,
Right.
because I know how I feel, and I know that going to meetings and just having a conversation with people, just so happens that I'm in an AA meeting, okay? But when I'm there, just so happens that I have a good chance of having a conversation with another human being that has struggled with alcohol the same way that I have. So that's one of the main reasons I go to meetings, and that's what's important to me. I don't care if I feel like I'm a part of anything necessarily.
Yeah, that's good. You brought up something about in the beginning it was like sharing your story with another person that can relate, whatever it is. Okay, I don't care if it's alcohol or whatever, you know. So it's like I'm sharing my story, my struggle, my experience, my strength, my hope with another human being. I found out that I can do that anywhere in the world. I don't have to go to Alcoholics Anonymous today. Okay. When I started 37 years ago, I had no choices. I didn't I didn't really know. It's like I had to kind of listen and learn because I had no other information. I mean, I didn't even know how to hug my mom, or I mean, hugging wasn't even like part of my life. You know, I didn't even know how to say I love you and and look somebody in the face and mean it. You know, like my even my family. You know, my mom and dad, we never hugged or anything. So I didn't have I didn't have much skill, life skills. I didn't know when somebody pushed my button. If my wife pushed my button, the only reaction I knew was anger. Right. So yes, in the beginning, I needed to hear other things, but I didn't have any choices. So when I came in, I did seek other choices, and I found out that these other places that I went to can give me the same thing that I'm needing going to Alcoholics Anonymous. The reason why I continued, I believe, the reason why I kept on continuing is because it was it, the meetings were all over. So when I wanted to run away, because this is what I did, I used to do. I used to run to a meeting, just like I would run to a drink. Now I wasn't drinking, but I still run to a meeting. I used to via escape reality because I didn't know how to handle a situation from my kids, my wife, the outside authority, or whatever. And I used to run to a meeting to escape to get a fix, just like I would get the fix at the bar or the drug place. Now, which one was better? Definitely uh, going to the meeting was a better choice. It was harm reduction, actually. When I look at it, when I look back, what I was doing was harm reduction. The problem was that power, prestige, money. It's like there's power in the herd mentality. So you got these people. There's so many of them, so many places to go. That's where I ran to. If I would have had smart recovery, rational recovery, if I would have had recovery dharma, there's a brand new recovery. I talked with this person that's developing it. It's called fast recovery, and it's a new thing. They're just starting it. It's kind of really cool. Now I didn't have all them choices. If I would have had all them choices, I probably would have maybe went here, went back to a meeting, went here, went over there, which I did eventually do. I'd go to a therapy meeting. I'd go to a meditation meeting. I was lucky I started to branch out. But it was almost like with all these words, I was programmed. There's no question. And I was programmed to think that I was so different that I could not get any help from these other places because if I left Alcoholics Anonymous, I surely would die or drink again because it says they'll surely, the drink will come and they will surely die, you know? So I kept on going, I think, more through guilt and not wanting to drink because I thought if I drank again, I was going to die. And me today, I prefer abstinence. That's my choice. People, I've I've heard of thousands of people that use different methods, millions of people to use different methods, like the Sinclair method. They take a pill and they don't have to drink. They can drink one or two and it goes away. Me personally, I don't. I don't go that way. There's people that moderate that've been in Alcoholics Anonymous for years, and they go out and after educating and getting educated and figuring different ways about their lives and their skills and about the brain and about thoughts and about consciousness and all this other stuff, meditation, and they're on a good road of life journey. They moderate. I mean, it's proven, right? Me personally, I choose abstinence. That's what I choose. It's not through fear. It's because I just feel it's a healthier way to go for me. But yeah, you brought up a good point with that. Going in there, and that's why I kept on going. You know,
So from the time that you realized AA wasn't for you, how much time had transpired until you were able to find or expand other resources to tap into? And what was your uh, thinking in getting through that? And I think you just kind of answered that when you said that you knew abstinence was for you. But can you elaborate a little bit on that time span from when you realized AA wasn't for you until you started to expand out to other places, your frame of mind and how you got through that specifically?
Well, as you know and everybody else knows, I found out early. I mean, very early,
Okay.
within months and years. I found out because I was inquisitive and I always liked checking other things out. So that was my nature.
Yeah.
So, but I never felt like leaving AA because I always had this connection, and it wasn't a healthy connection. It was a connection like I have to go there. I have to still go. I can check out all these things, do all these things, but AA's big. I could go anywhere, anytime. I could be anywhere. Uh, I didn't have the internet back then. I wasn't online. I didn't have podcasts. We didn't have any of them things. They called us alcoholic, and that's what we were labeled, alcoholic. Today, I mean, I'm still evolving. So how much time? It was soon, but how much time did it take me to actually leave and not go to any more meetings and feel like I don't need it? It's not. I always felt that I really like didn't need it, but I did need it. It was like cognitive dissonance, ambivalence. I need it, but I don't need it. And I always proved that I was okay when I left, go on vacation for 2 weeks, never went to a meeting. I, I didn't drink. I didn't want to drink. There was times in between sponsors, years, a year or two or whatever. I didn't have a spot. I didn't drink. There was times that I didn't sit and work 12 steps and do all this and read all these books, and I didn't drink. But I also did those things. So through all this repetition and experimentation or evolution, evolving out into other things, it took me years to be able to just sit because I had friends. It was like a hook. It's like the carrot and the stick. It's like a hook. I created these friends and this fellowship. And here, I'm going to be honest too with this. It was a lot of egotistical thinking on my part too, that I was powerful in the sense that I did have a lot of knowledge, and I had a lot because I went to all these other places. I felt that I was powerful, and it could have been egoic or it could have been just true nature trying to help. So I stayed for many, many, many years thinking that I could help others to achieve this expansion. And what I was doing is, I believe me, I helped a lot of people. People used to come up to Bobby, thanks for sharing that. I would never have said that. Thanks for the courage that you had to say something other than what everybody else is saying. I got that gratification, but it was like I had a responsibility almost. It was almost like I had this responsibility to pass on something that I knew. But then it became so like hypocritical for me because I'd go into a meeting and you're going such against the stream that it really is degrading for your soul, like your body, your spirit, your mind. It's almost like so hypocritical that when you leave, you almost feel worse than when I go, you know. And I stopped going for. I haven't been to a meeting probably in the last maybe 6 years, and I believe I evolved more in that time than I did in any other time because of my search. That I have this desire to uncover, recover, and discover more about humanity, about life, about myself, about the world, about the universe, you know. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Both these books really did not give me the uncovering and discovering mechanisms that I needed, you know. Back to you, Joe, and if you want to You touch something on what I just said.
Well, when I started reading the chapter on the 12 and 12 for step 5, right off the bat, they talk about ego. And I labeled this step 5 the ego deflator based on how it's described in the book. Um, I had a few questions I wanted to ask you. One of them is, do you think we need our ego? And I think that you just kind of answered that question without knowing I was going to ask it, because your ego helped a lot of people. And I guess I would have to agree with that. Uh, but that's the same thing as everything else. Everything has to be balanced. The ego has to be balanced. Uh, the way who we, what and who we listen to has to be balanced. The way we interpret things has to be balanced. Everything has to be balanced. Um, so yeah, ego is a big part of this step, and it's what I'm getting from the readings are, it's trying, its main, one of the main goals is trying to deflate the ego. uh I guess that's good if you want to try and change someone's thinking and get them to a place where they need to feel humiliated, um and then somehow feel free just by telling another person all the stuff that they've done. It's described in the 12 and 12 as such a magical and godlike experience after you've admitted to God and to yourself and to another human being all your defects. It wasn't that way for me. I had contemplated my poor decisions while under the influence of alcohol, and I knew that they were wrong. And I had come to terms with it. I guess I knew that I was going to keep drinking, and if I did made poor decisions while I was drunk, drinking was just the part of my life that I needed, and any poor decision that I may have made along the way was going to be a small sacrifice, um, as long as I could keep drinking. Uh, so I wanted to ask you. I think I know the answer, but at some point, did you do step 4 back in the day?
Uh, what they consider step four, did. I did my first four step with a priest. Okay.
And did
Now
you?
I was Catholic. I was raised Catholic. Okay. So my first four step, I wrote down. You know, he kind of said just write, get started, write something down. My fifth step, I did with a priest. I wrote down my four step, went to the priest. Here's a story. The priest told me after I confessed my sins, which that this is, it's actually a breakdown of self. Okay, confession is a breakdown of self. Religion is a breakdown of self. Religion and AA is there's no difference. It's copied, identical. If you believe in religion, you'll really like Alcoholics Anonymous. If you believe in the religious structure at the breakdown of self and the confessions of sins, admitted your faults, confession, amends, and all the other retributions throughout your entire life, constantly going to confession and making these admissions. You'll do good in Alcoholics Anonymous because it's religion. Okay. Me personally, I see it's religion. It's a break. You're talking about the ego. Oh, did I do the fourth step? Yeah, I wrote the fourth step. I went to the priest, did the fifth step. Here's the deal. The priest told me, he said, make make the big book. This is what he told me. Okay. He said, make the big book your Bible.
Mm.
That's what he told because it is a Bible. It's copied off the religion. You got the Bible, you got the big book, you got priests, you got sponsors, you got amends, you got amends, you got confession, you got confession, you got the 10 commandments, you got the 12 commandments. Over and over. You go to meetings, you go to church. You believe in God, you believe in God. You believe in Bill W, Jesus Christ, you believe in Bill W. It's identical. There's really no difference. Okay, so I go to the priest. He says, make the big book your Bible and make the meetings your church. Okay? All right. No problem. I got that. Now the same priest, I started to go to church, and the same priest that I seen started. This was when adult children of alcoholics. This is 37 years ago. Started to get popular. Everybody started to write books. See, the 12 steps became book money. It all became money. So everybody started to jump on the bandwagon and rewrite the 12 steps and get into, ACOA, CODA. So he got into CODA, ACOA, women, all women, a lot of women. And this priest he was smart. And people still know him back in Jersey. Okay, I'm not going to mention his name. But he's seen the money in it, and he's seen the help that he could help people, but he also seen some things. He actually took his collar off, left the church, and started a big retreat center, and started to be the guru of ACOA, CODA, and all the philosophy of the 12 steps. Money, money, money. It was big, and he was helping a lot of people. He really did. He helped a lot of people because a lot of people branched out into other things after that. So I think a lot of people's consciousness kind of expanded and became aware of different things. So I believe he helped a lot of people. But he took off his collar and he found out religion was a crock of shit, and he got married. So that saved his ass, right? So yeah, the answer is yes. But guess what? I didn't have to go to the priest, but I could have went to anybody else. I didn't even have to be an AA and do that. I believe today, I still do these things today. See, people think, it's a carrot and a stick. They give you it's a carrot and a stick because the mind, the mind's a computer. If you think you're going to tell somebody and it's going to go away, you're mistaken, ladies and gentlemen. It don't go away. It's still in the brain, okay? It's a process. It takes time. Even today, I can recall the shit if I want to. Like that, I can recall any bad shit that I did in there. So it's a process. This is trickery and magic, okay? Tell you the truth, because words cast spells upon us anyhow, and that's part of magic isn't that bad, but sorcery is, and this is like sorcery in its sense. But it's a lifelong process if you choose it. It doesn't have to be. You could live a life. You could quit drinking or moderate or do whatever the hell you want to do. Me personally, I just like to learn more, and get more knowledge and learn more about care and natural law. I'm into things called natural law, and if you defined me, you could use labels, but I don't like labels. I don't buy labels. What else, Joe? What the hell did I just went off on a
Bobby,
tangent?
see, you've answered almost all of my questions without me asking them. Here's my other question that you just answered. Where is it? Okay. After step 5, did the grace of God enter your being and expel your destructive obsessions?
No, that's bullshit. Okay, it's just a fantasy bullshit magical mystery. Uh, if you believe in religion, you'll give credit to this magical man in the sky. But if once you understand knowledge and consciousness, mind, thought, and all that stuff, you'll understand that it's you. It comes from you. Here's step 6. You want to do here? Here, you want to do? Let's see. Here. Step 6 here. 5. Here's step 6. We'll do it real quick. This is what they, this is before the step book came out. Here's step 6. If we can answer to our satisfaction, we then look at step 6. We have emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable? Oh, yes, I do. Please, God, remove them. Okay. Most people say, shit, yeah, he removed them, man. I'm done. I'm cured. That's delusion. The 12 steps are actually delusion. Okay. Can he now take them all, everyone? If we still cling to something we will not let go, we ask God to help us become willing. Okay. When ready, we say something like this. Okay, we just did step 6. It's only a paragraph. It's done. Okay, here's step 7. When ready, we say something like this. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of your usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me the strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. Now that doesn't sound religious. Come on, people, wake the hell up. All right, that's step 7. Oh, I'm done now. Here's the hook. Here's the carrot. Now they got you. Okay, here's the hook. They got you. Every time you go back out relapsing and drinking, here's what they're going to tell you. You didn't do a good house cleaning. You didn't do step 6 right. Keep on going 6. You didn't do 7. You didn't do 8. You didn't do 9. It's taking the responsibility away from a human being, placing it on the steps in God. We got no responsibility. It's not us. We can do whatever the hell we want. Because I just got to go back and try to see what the hell I screwed up with. I'm so effed up. Did I messed up something? Uh-oh. Let me go back and double up my efforts. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Well, it keeps bringing me back to, like, this is all a placebo effect. Like, you're saying that God removed all your defects and now you're good. It's like somebody going to Joel Osteen or one of these guys and saying that they've exorcised the demons.
Yeah.
And if the people believe that, who's for me? Am I to say that that's bad or not? Not really. I mean, if it's helping them, let it help them. But I wish that they realized that it was within themselves that they could
see it.
Change. You know what I mean?
So they can see it. Look,
they can see it.
Right. So I agree with you. Okay, let them go. You want to help yourself. Here's why I'm doing this podcast, and Joe's helping me with this. Okay, I'm doing this podcast because I have a passion not to see slavery. Okay, I have a passion to not see people enslaved by their body, minds, and spirit. I believe in the soul. I believe in the spirit. I believe in this world, universe, something. I believe in that. Okay, so I don't want to see people enslaved and never feeling like they have responsibility. They have to do this for the rest. Here's the carrot. You think it's done yet? Well, wait. They're not healed yet because you still got to do 8 and 9. 8 and 9. It's the same as 6 and 7, 4 and 5. You got to do 8 and 9. Now that's even harder because you're going to go to people I'm screwed up so many times. You're going to go now. There, that's even harder. It gets harder. Okay. Then after that, don't forget, you got step 10, which step 10 tells you to continue. It's a lifelong process. Continue. You got to continue to take personal inventory when you were wrong. Promptly admit it. You got to go to confession all the time. You got to confess your sins all the time. If you don't, you're going to drink again. Then you go to 11. That's another whole. We're going to get into all this, folks. This is only 5. We're going to get into all this stuff. When you get into 11, 12, 12, that's a lifelong recruiting process. I'll get you in there. If I would, they wish I was still in Alcoholics Anonymous so I can recruit a lot of people and talk this bull crap to people so I can keep them in. No, I don't want to keep you in. I want to let you loose. I want to set you free. If I want to do anything, it's to set somebody free. It's not to keep you enslaved and bondage, so you can recruit others for life, and have guilt, shame. No, I don't want to. Here, the multi-step process that begins with attacks on self. This is part of brainwashing definitions. It's an attack on the self and ends up with appeared to be a change in belief. It's assault on my identity. When I say, Bobby, hey, I'm Bobby C. Alcoholic. I'm not alcoholic. That's not who I am. It's an assault on my identity. Guilt, shame. You are defected. You have the seven deadly sins, and they must be released. You must confession, make amends. Self-betrayal. Denounce your family. Yeah, in the beginning, I left all my friends, that's all I did was go to AA in the beginning. My friends, I didn't. I left them all. Okay. Compulsion to confess. It's the whole thing. Continue to take personal inventory and promptly admit it when you were wrong. Channeling of guilt, progression and harmony, confusion and rebirth, confession and rebirth. It even says there, I was born again. In a sense that I was born again, I was born again to freedom. That's why I'm trying to create new births to reawaken people, to wake them up out of the illusion and delusion of this program. People say, Bobby, you're going to hurt people. You're going to kill millions of people. Not today. There's so many places to go. If you really want help, that's why they call it self. Why do you think people call it self-help? That in itself tells you self-help.
Bobby C., I think we need to wrap it up in a few minutes. But before we do, I want to ask you a couple more questions real quick. They are just 2 that you so happen to not answer for me already. Here we go. You ready?
Right on.
Do you know what extemporaneously means?
No. I could look it up in a dictionary. Say that word again?
Extemporaneous.
No, if I look it up, I'll just look it up when I hang up. I don't know offhand. I don't know what it means. As soon as you tell me, I will.
It's something done or spoken with little or no preparation.
Spontaneous.
Yeah, I guess so. Kind of like this podcast.
Yeah, we're spontaneous. Yeah.
They use that word in 12 and 12 referring to it's one of the reasons why we loved alcohol so much, because it made us extemporaneous in certain situations.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that.
I agreed with that too. And
alcohol does make you exactly.
Yeah, I would remember I would be drinking and I would just extemporaneously do something in front of people that I would never have done if I wasn't drinking. Before I looked it up, I thought it had to do with like the temperature of your ass, because it's got the word anus in there and it's got the word temp in there, short for temperature. So I thought it had to do with temperature of your ass. It does. So my second question is, when have you acted extemporaneously under the influence of alcohol? And when have you acted extemporaneously under the influence of your own will?
Oh, it happened. Like the drink is spirits. That's why they call it spirits. It kind of lowers your vibration, your energy and stuff. But it gives you this. It takes the veil off of all the masks, and it allows you to. We got a lot from drinking. I'm not telling anybody that it didn't make me happy. It didn't give me the sense of freedom and all that other stuff. It did. It did. And I acted spontaneous. I would, the shit that I did was very spontaneous. I would just call people up. I'd go knocking on people's houses 3 a.m. and wake them the hell up and ask for another drink. I did everything spontaneous. Okay. Today, I kind of, spontaneity is, it happens when it happens. It's more like, I don't have shit planned. I don't like to plan a lot of stuff. I like to have the kind of universe or the situations come about, and then I move with it, and that's kind of spontaneous today. If my wife says, "Hey, hon, let's go out," okay, let's go. You kind of flow with not that I do that all the time. So I have a balance today with that. I make plans, I set agendas. I could do like this podcast. When we get on, this is spontaneous. What the hell? I didn't write what I'm talking about right now. So it's kind of an organic, spontaneous type of deal we're doing right now. But yeah, alcohol brought me this thing that I thought was happiness and everything else. But I found out happiness is overrated. It's this word happiness is everybody's looking for, but I don't know.
Well, Bobby C, I feel the same way. And I'm going to wrap it up from there. This is Joey C. You can find me at Brutally Sober on the Anchor.fm podcast. And you can find me at Brutsob at, what the hell are all those things called? I'm getting too old.
Instagram, Twitter, shit.
Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, if you're looking at all that bull crap, you can find me there.
Yeah, man. And check out Bobby C at Anonymous Addiction at My Truth About AA as Bobby C sees it. Now this ain't, you can make it as Joey sees it, as Jenny sees it, as Cliff sees it, as Johnny sees it. I don't care, because that's the way you're supposed to see it, as you see it, not as Bill W sees it. Okay, so check us out. Stay tuned for the next thing. I think we'll talk about what we're gonna do next. 6, 7. We'll probably do 6, 7. Talk briefly on that. Who knows? But check us out.
Next Saturday it'll be up. We'll at least do 6, and I hope that we struck a couple chords with at least somebody out there, and made somebody think. And if you're listening and you don't want to drink tonight, but you feel like you have to, just don't drink and listen to this podcast on replay. I'll see you guys later.
Take care, Joey. Bye-bye.